For more on the complex relationship between Beijing and Washington, let's turn now to Josef Gregory Mahoney. He's a professor of politics and international relations at East China Normal University in Shanghai. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. Just want to ask you, how would you describe the overall relationship between China and the U.S. this year, despite obvious differences over Taiwan?
Well, good morning from Shanghai, Karina, and good evening in Washington, and happy holidays. I think if we let our thinking be guided, let's say, by the Chinese classic of changes, the I Ching, and we view the bilateral relationship as a complex encounter of the yin and the yang, as the unity of opposites, we must ask, how much has really changed over the past year, despite all the ups and downs? Some of us were concerned things could get a lot worse than they did at the beginning of the year. This was a concern we had, while others were hopeful that we would see significant improvements. In fact, there were a lot of 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, or 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards. Meanwhile, the relationship continues to muddle through a new era of great power competition versus a shared future for humanity. Now, your lead-in noted Washington continuing to meddle in China's internal affairs as Beijing sees it with this new defense law. And we saw, of course, the U.S.-led G7 giving us de-risking as a new norm. We had the weather balloon brouhaha, Blinken's canceled visit then coming, followed by other cabinet members with high-level Chinese officials visiting Washington, California Governor Newsom and key U.S. senators coming to China, as well as key business leaders. And then, of course, the Xi-Biden meeting at APEC in San Francisco. Now, after each of these official meetings, we saw positive greetings from both sides, but then negative comments, especially from the American side, Biden, Raimondo, and others, pot stirring in Congress. We saw positive things like increases in flights, but unfortunately only to half the pre-COVID numbers. Of course, we had Kissinger's visit and then him passing. It seems every taste of sweetness has been followed by a bit of bitterness.
Definitely, there is some delicate dancing going on between both sides. Professor, I'm wondering, in your opinion, what was China's biggest accomplishment on the world stage in 2023?
Well, I think the thing that we point to most commonly here in China, and certainly it deserves attention, is the 10th anniversary of the Belt Road Initiative. That suffered, I think, some setbacks during the COVID period, but it is full steam ahead at this point. And I think that's positive news for everyone, China, but the global South, Southeast Asia, Africa, Latin America, wherever we see these Belt Road projects, the Middle East, Central Asia. But the other thing, of course, is that even though we saw some muddling through with the Chinese economy this year with the recovery from COVID, I think most economists, although we're not really satisfied with where it stands, I think we all are convinced that it has stabilized for the most part, and that it has set a foundation for more improvement in 2024. And this is important not only for China, but for the global economy.
And, certainly it also helped broker that peace deal between Iran and Saudi, something that the U.S. found itself on the sidelines in this case, thanks to a really neat bit of Chinese diplomacy. So, sir, do you think that signals changing regional alignments between smaller powers and big players like the U.S. and China?
In my opinion, I think it does. I'm a little pessimistic in terms of what I perceive to be U.S. geostrategic ambitions. I do see Washington, as Kissinger warned, moving in a new Cold War paradigm, one in which Asia, the Middle East, to some extent, has been not necessarily abandoned to China, but is falling more into what Washington perceives as China's primary sphere of influence. The U.S. Moving towards energy independence, with becoming the largest oil and gas producer in the world, no longer really counting on being able to source energy from Saudi Arabia or some of the other Middle Eastern countries that are primary energy producers. So I think that we do see Central Asia, the Middle East, countries like Iran, Iraq, and others really looking more towards Beijing as a future partner than Washington.
So many questions for you, sir, but we are out of time. We will have to see what the future holds for both nations. Josef Gregory Mahoney in Shanghai, thank you so much, and happy holidays to you.